How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Greetings, conversationalists. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. It's an open line Friday. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, would be very happy to have you. I want to have deep philosophical conversation. I've waited until the third hour. We've got through all the news. All the news is still talking about the FBI raid on John Bolton. We've discussed that at length. There's nothing else we can add at this point. I want to have a grown-up conversation with you. First, I'm reminded of a phrase that was recurring in the book of Judges. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. It's something to think about. It is time and time again, this phrase comes up. It's in Judges 17. It's in Judges 21. And then in those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. It's constant recurrence with Israel having no king. There's a phrase that has circulated on social media a lot. It actually comes from a book called Those Who Remain. It's a post-apocalyptic book by a man named G. Michael Hopp. You've heard this phrase. You may not know where it comes from, but I guarantee you've heard this phrase or something comparable alluding to it. It's a sentence from the book. Actually, it's a group of sentences. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. Let me read it to you again. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. I wrote about this morning, and one of the first things I wrote about was, weak men, most weak men don't know they're weak men. They think they might be strong men, or at least middle management. They may not consider themselves the leader, but they're middle management. They don't look at themselves as weak. In fact, I know more people I would consider strong who have doubts and think they're weak than I know weak men who really think they're weak or know they're weak. It's the same thing with evil people. I mean, no Nazi. Well, there might have been a couple Nazis who got up in the morning and said, I'm going to go do evil today. Most of them got up, and many of them probably thought they were doing the Lord's work. Evil people get up and think they're good. Evil people think they're doing the Lord's work, just like you and me. Very few evil people really actually internalize their evil. Very few weak people actually internalize that they're weak. There are a lot of weak men in our good times, and good times produce weak men. And part of it historically is, the phrase history repeats itself, or history, if it doesn't repeat, it rhymes. It's because we forget. G.K. Chesterton talked about the democracy of the dead and how essentially the people who came before us did things through trial and error in such a way that they finally found out what worked. And we go through life and, we decide we know better than them. Tradition is only democracy extended through time. It is trusting to a consensus of common human voices rather than to some isolated or arbitrary record. Tradition means giving votes to the most obscure of all classes, our ancestors. It is the democracy of the dead. Tradition refuses to submit to the small and arrogant oligarchy of those who merely happen to be walking about. All Democrats object to men being disqualified by the accident of birth. Tradition objects to them being disqualified by the accident of death. Democracy tells us not to neglect a good man's opinion, even if he is our groom. Tradition asks us not to neglect a good man's opinion, even if he is our father. We do things in society in large ways because the people in the past, through trial and error, figured it out. Look at all the old ancient cultures that were polygamist. Look at the cultures, the New Testament Israel, where very clearly God intended one man and one woman, and yet you had a bunch of polygamists, including, David, who and Bathsheba got her husband killed so he could, it's Solomon and all of his wives. God didn't intend it that way. That's what men did. But through trial and error over time, we settled on a two-parent heterosexual nuclear household is the best way to raise a family. It's the most stable way to raise a family. And we get to good times and people forget the necessity of family for a good civil society. So much of our breakdown in our society today is because we have forgotten what the hard times taught the strong men, that strong men need to be good husbands and fathers to perpetuate a stable society. There are a lot of people I know, men in particular, who think we can have sex, don't have to have kids, and you know what? When I get old and established, maybe I'll have a wife. I'm going to tell you something you may not want to hear if you're a young person listening right now, and I know you're out there. There is never a convenient time to have kids. You will never have enough money to be comfortable to have kids. You will never have enough money. You will never have enough stability. You will never have enough comfort. You will never have enough peace in your life for you and your wife to have kids. Just go on and have kids. And remarkably, the comfort and the peace come later. It's the great paradox of family. Young men who get married and have children and stay married have a better quality of life. They live longer and they make more money. Sociologists aren't exactly sure why, but it's the paradox of life. You think I got to get the money and the house and everything else before I have kids, but the data shows the people who put the kids first wind up with all the stuff you want without the kid. Because kids help you focus on more important things. And we as a society have forgotten that. And the progressive left in particular and liberal young women are being told by culture they can have their cake and eat it too. They can have their kids. They can have their career. They have no compromises that they need to make, no sacrifice they need to make. Everything's going to work. And it never works out that way unless you're fabulously wealthy, which most people aren't. And then the fabulously wealthy have their own set of psychoses to worry about. In our good times, we have forgotten that in the hard times, the strong men realized family first. Get married. When I say this, I'm thinking of a guy who is a friend of mine, who I know, who is in his 30s, who is a very good-looking guy, pridefully so, and he is absolutely convinced he'll get married one day, but right now he doesn't need to. It is easy for him to get women, have sex, and he has fun. And he travels a lot, and he makes a lot of money, and he has no desire to have a wife and kids and to be shackled. He's having a good time. And I just look at him as like, you're not the strong man you think you are. You may be able to out deadlift me. You may be able to out bench press me. You may have lower body fat than me. But you know what? I have a wife who I love. I have children who I love, who love me, and I go home at night and I'm happy. And he is always restless and looking for more. And when I am 70 or 80 years old and I finally decide to start thinking about retirement, I'll have hopefully still my wife, but my kids and grandkids, and there will be someone to take care of me. And I don't know who's going to take care of him. He's an only child. He doesn't have nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters. And he's no interest in making a family. And I guess to some degree, I know people, and we haven't had this conversation, but I know people like, well, I'm not going to live that long anyway. Might as well have a good time. It's sad. It's not a strength. It's a weakness. And it devalues society. And a lot of that is from popular culture, and it's a weakness. But there's a corollary here, and this is where I step on some of your toes. We haven't just learned in the hard times the necessity of a cultural conservatism and the need for family, and we shouldn't be devaluing family, and we shouldn't get to the point in society where the weak men now think the men can wear the dresses and the women can wear the pants and the boys can become the girls and the girls can become the boys. You only get to that point in good times where you have nothing else to worry about, and then you start to break down society, and that's happening right now. There's also economics. And this is what pains me about the progressive right, because the progressives aren't just on the left, they're on the right, and many of them are shaping public policy for the president. You and me making decisions for our family are always going to make better decisions for our family than the government will. You and me deciding where we want to shop, what products we want to buy, when we want to buy, where we want to buy, who we want to buy with, who we want to buy from, we're always going to make a better decision for our family. And the way we figured out in hard times, the strong men figured it out, is that by letting you and me manage our families and our finances the way we wanted to, we actually make the whole country better instead of a top-down approach. But there are loud voices in Washington whispering in the ear of the Trump administration that think Washington knows best. The same people who vilified the healthcare bureaucrats for thinking they knew better than the American people now think they know better than the American people when it comes to the economy. And that, by the way, that includes tariffs. What is a tariff? A tariff is a tax punishing you for buying a product the government doesn't want you to buy. It's trying to control where you spend your money. The government has $150 billion in revenue from tariffs. That money's not coming from China like Peter Navarro thinks. That money's coming from American businesses, which are now not going to pay as high a wage or invest as much or give dividends to their shareholders for their 401ks, or that money's coming from you. Walmart is seeing increased sales. Why? Because people are having to go to Walmart because Walmart has a manufacturing supply line that's more robust than a Target and other places. And so they've been able to keep costs lower. That people are shifting their sales and their purchases to Walmart is actually a bad sign for the American economy because tariffs are starting to have an impact on daily lives. The government deciding to buy controlling shares in Intel in order to give them money. These are the things in hard times the strong men learned were terrible ideas because it breeds inefficiency. It causes companies to make decisions for the government, not for the shareholders, not for the employees, not for the investors. It's a terrible idea, roundly rejected by the strong men in the hard times. The American economy exploded and has unleashed freedom around the world in large part because the American governments realized that allowing people to keep and spend their money as they wished was better than the government creating an industrial policy and an economic policy that told Americans how to spend their money, where to spend their money, when to spend their money, with whom to spend their money. The progressive left has forgotten that families matter. The progressive right has forgotten that basic free market economics matter. They are calling it state capitalism. That's what China called their version of capitalism woven within a communist socialist society, state capitalism. It's not capitalism. Capitalism itself comes from Marxism. Marx defined it derisively as capitalism. It's free markets. Free people need free markets. And what the government is doing right now is they're taking freedom out of the markets and giving it to technical bureaucrats. It's mini Dr. Fauci's for the economy. You are smarter than the government. And it doesn't matter whether the government is Republican or Democrat. You are smarter than the government. You know the needs of yourself, your family, and your pocketbook better than the government. You know where to get the cheapest goods for your family. And we benefit. There is a reason the United States has the most robust economy on planet Earth. Even when our economy is underperforming where we want it, like in the last few years with Joe Biden, it was still better than everywhere else on Earth. We had way higher inflation than we should have had because of Joe Biden, and it was still less inflation than everywhere else because Americans tend to do well making their own decisions. When the government bureaucrats interfere, we get things like inflation or tariffs. The weak men in charge actually think they're strong and think they can strong arm you into a family the way they want it, into an economy the way they want it. And then we get hard times. And I'm afraid hard times are coming because weak men are whispering in the ears of the political leaders of Washington, D.C. on both sides, telling the Washington elite that they know better than you and me how to provide for our families and how to shape policies. And history shows us time and time again, and we'll have to get to the hard times to figure it out again, I guess, that you and me making decisions ourselves in the best interest of ourselves and our family is actually what makes the economy the most robust on planet Earth. And I hate that we're probably going to have to go through hard times again, but when you've got the Commerce Secretary advocating for something he calls state capitalism and government control of Fortune 500 companies, well, that's where we're headed, so buckle up.
This is your before and after story. Southeastern College can help you prepare for a secure and fulfilling career in the growing healthcare field. We offer a wide range of careers to choose from, so whether you want to be a medical assistant, medical billing and coding specialist, nurse, surgical technologist, or another healthcare career, we've got you covered. Become a vital part of a healthcare team and make a real difference. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Let's go to the phones to Greenville, South Carolina. Jillian, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Eric. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? How's Greenville?
Greenville is muggy, but otherwise great. Thank you.
Same around here.
Yeah. My question is, I know that you dislike tariffs, but I was wondering, what is your solution to the problems of protectionism, especially the EU and China, but also other countries against American products and services?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. So first of all, strategically deploying tariffs, I'm not opposed to. So I do think there need to be tariffs on, for example, companies that are making pharmaceuticals in China, trying to discourage them from being there, move their supply line to an American ally, something like that. And likewise, I think that there are better options than tariffs. What are we doing with tariffs? We're doing tariffs to try to repatriate manufacturing into the United States. There are actually better ways to do that than tariffs. Why? Because tariffs drive up costs. If you lower costs, you're actually going to be able to do a better incentive to get people here. A lot of the companies that they're trying to incentivize to repatriate manufacturing aren't even doing it because, well, their underlying products that they need to make their finished products are being tariffed, so the costs are going up for them too. So you deregulate not just environmental regulations, you deregulate the labor supply, you deregulate for them their ability to build where they want to build, to be able to make their factories. You lower taxation on these businesses, you give them greater leeway to deduct the costs of the things that they're putting into their factories up front instead of having to drag it out over time. There are lots of ways to lower the cost to make them more competitive to build domestically and repatriate manufacturing than tariffs, which is a one-size-fits-all approach that winds up hurting as much as helping. Now, I want to talk about this a little more, Jillian, on the other side of the break, so stay tuned. Right now, I got to tell you about Hillsdale College, which, by the way, has a great class on capitalism and its virtues that, to some degree, Jillian, takes on this topic on how free markets can be deployed to stimulate the economy more than protectionism. You can take that class or take the one on the Federalist Papers completely free, or 38 other classes by going to ericforhillsdale.com. ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up with Hillsdale College. It's completely free. You take one of these classes. You find a topic you are interested in, and let Hillsdale's best faculty guide you through their video lectures, 30 minutes apiece, multiple episodes depending on the topic, and you'll get smarter about a topic like, for example, capitalism or the Federalist Papers or C.S. Lewis or Shakespeare. ericforhillsdale.com is the website to go to. It's completely free from Hillsdale College, ericforhillsdale.com. More on Jillian's question on tariffs when we come back.
Life is unpredictable, but preparing for the unexpected shouldn't be. Take ownership of your life planning with Policy Genius to help your loved ones have a financial safety net in case something happens to you. They offer life insurance policies starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. Don't wait for life to make other plans. Protect your family today. Head to policygenius.com. That's policygenius.com.
You would think that there would be more for the media to cover than the John Bolton raid. My goodness gracious. However, there actually is breaking news I see on CNN. There's multiple fatalities and entrapments. A tour bus and a semi have crashed in New York. Boy, prayers for those people. Jillian called from Greenville, South Carolina. She's asking, what's my response to tariffs? Let me work you through this one. And first of all, you should know the president is confirming that the government is negotiating a 10% stake in Intel. That's really bad economics. It'll make the government the largest single shareholder of Intel. Intel has been a terribly mismanaged company, and this will not fix it. Why? Because when the government takes control, the decisions become political decisions, not economic decisions, not business decisions. And if Barack Obama or Joe Biden were in charge, you would all be opposed to it. And you're thinking, but it's okay, Donald Trump's going to be there. He's not going to be there forever, y'all. There's no such thing as permanence in politics. He is setting a precedent doing this. You could say, well, what about Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac? That was a congressional law. What about GM? That was a congressional law. This is not, and this is not a good economic policy. Why? Because, again, history shows, and we learned in the hard times, the more the government is involved in the business of companies and in the business of the economy, the worse the economy does. In the same way that none of you trust the healthcare bureaucrats to make healthcare decisions in Washington, the economic bureaucrats are just the same sort of people. The technocrats decide they know what's best. And you may say, well, right now we have Republican technocrats, but you won't always have Republican technocrats. So the best thing is to set the precedent of keeping the government out of the economy. That gets me to tariffs. What is a tariff? A tariff is a duty. What is a duty? A duty is a tax on an item. We distinguish a duty and a tax because a tax is this is semantics, I realize, but it actually does matter in terms of the law. A tax is something that you owe. A duty is something the product owes. Now, the product can't pay taxes. You pay the taxes, but somebody pays the taxes. So a tax is something that you are obligated to pay. A duty is tied to an individual good, and someone is obligated to pay it for the good. It doesn't matter who, someone's got to pay it. In some cases, what is happening right now is overseas, about 30% of the tariffed items that come into this country, the manufacturers overseas have cut the price so that the price doesn't change when it comes into this country. So the American importer is still paying the same amount of money. It's just some of the money is going to the government and some of the money is coming to us. Or some of the money is going to the manufacturer overseas. So that's about 30% of the tariffed items. 40% of the tariffed items are seeing price increases, and American companies are eating the cost so that your price doesn't go up. So the American company is paying the higher price, and they're just not making as much money now, but you don't see a price increase. That's 70% of the products is either the manufacturer abroad is cutting the price or the American manufacturer is eating the cost increase. The other 30%, price increases. And as the tariffs continue, fewer companies are going to keep eating the price, and they're going to pass it on to you. And you will be the one who pays the duty. The money will be collected by the company and reimbursed to the government. So your prices will go up, and it's starting to happen. And there's ample data out there showing it's starting to happen, from banana prices and coffee prices right now at the grocery store to aluminum cans. Beer prices are starting to go up. Soft drink prices are starting to go up. A lot of prices are starting to go up. What's the alternative, though? And that's Jillian's question is now you know why I think a tariff is bad, because a tariff is a tax that you or a company are going to pay. And by the way, if the company eats the cost on the tariff, if the company says, you know what, we're just not going to make as much money, well, now wages don't go up as high. Wages don't go up, or they don't hire people. That's one of the things that Jerome Powell is looking at, why he's saying that they may cut interest rates, is because companies aren't firing people right now, but they're not hiring people right now. because of their costs. So if a company eats the cost on a tariff, they have less money to pay as a dividend to shareholders. The value of the company doesn't grow, so your 401k stagnates. They can't hire as many people. They can't pay higher wages. It has an economic cascading effect. Either you're paying the higher price or they are. Either way, it has an effect. So what's the alternative? The alternative is make the business environment in the United States better. There is a reason a lot of Japanese automakers build factories in right-to-work states in the United States. About 2 hours to the southeast of me in Bryan County, Georgia, there is a massive Hyundai plant being built for electric vehicles. It is, when I say it is a massive plant, so I'm getting on my maps program right now and turning on satellite view here, you can see it on the satellite. If you go down to get on your satellite program, look at find I-16. It goes out of Macon, Georgia to Savannah, Georgia. You can zoom in around Blickton, Georgia, Pembroke, Georgia, that area, and you will see this massive, massive plant being built. It stretches more than 1.5 miles along the interstate and goes about 1.5 miles back off the interstate. It's ginormous. It's being built in Georgia because Georgia is a right-to-work state. It's being built in Pembroke, Georgia, and the Ellabelle area and the Blickton area because land is cheap. There's a lot of land down there. It's near Savannah, so it's near the Savannah International Airport and Gulfstream. It is near the Savannah Harbor, so cars can be shipped out of there. It's near a major rail line. There's a lot of land down there, and it's cheap. And Georgia was able to cut regulations to get it built and put a lot of people to work. The wild thing about this is the towns around there are very small. They don't have the sewer capacity for the amount of people they expect to be living there in the next 5 years. There are massive construction projects underway. But you cut costs, you deregulate, you make it easier for businesses to build in areas where land is cheap, and you don't need tariffs to repatriate. One of the problems of a lot of American manufacturing moving overseas is because the workforce is not as educated here as it is in some other parts of the country. We got a lot of kids coming out of public school who are illiterate still and can't do basic math. There are ways that we can stimulate our economy and repatriate jobs without taxation, and that's what a tariff is. But think about the number of companies. So there was a report that Donald Trump is going to increase steel and aluminum tariffs further. That actually is going to hurt the ability to repatriate manufacturing. Why? Basic economics. If you read Milton Friedman, you read Hayek, you read Adam Smith, you read any free market economist, here's what you find. When tariffs are imposed on imports, the domestic manufacturers of the same products can raise their prices. Why? If I'm selling something at $10 and the foreign manufacturer is selling something at $7, but thanks to tariffs, the imported cost is now $15. My product is still $10. Their product is now $15. I can raise my price to $13 or $14, and I'm still cheaper than the imported product. That's what's actually happening with aluminum right now. The Anheuser-Busch, InBev, Ford Motor Company, GM, Stellantis, they're all warning now. They're screaming very loudly at this point that domestic aluminum and steel producers are raising their prices on them. Why? Because the domestic aluminum and steel will still be cheaper than the foreign aluminum and steel, but prices are going to go up. I mean, the domestic manufacturer has no incentive to keep their price down. They're not going to be punished for raising their price, so they're raising their prices. So your costs are going to go up. So what could they do? Well, just take the steel mill in Pennsylvania that got bought by the Japanese, but the American government now has an interest in it. Again, socialism. They're not having to make any labor changes. They're not having to move to a state that has less union regulations. They're not having to change how they hire. That nobody's having to do anything to this company to help it lower domestic prices. What you could do is you could actually deregulate the company. You could lower build standards for that company without compromising safety. You could lower labor costs by ending forced unionization. The company would still be paying high wages, but they wouldn't be bound to all the weird union rules. Do all sorts of stuff to help them make money. In fact, there are steel plants in this country, in right-to-work areas of this country, that are competitive to the foreigners because those state governments and the federal government deregulated them in terms of labor, deregulated them in terms of the ability to build and expand, and they're competitive. We don't need tariffs to do this. We have ample examples in this country. But also, some things are better manufactured overseas to keep costs down for Americans. You don't need to rebuild the T-shirt or the sock factory in the country, but it doesn't need to be made in China either. And this is where I think the president has missed the boat to a degree. And what I've advocated for is for ally shoring. So instead of offshoring, let's do pharmaceuticals. That's a good one. A lot of generic pharmaceuticals made in China. It should not be the case. I'm in favor of tariffs on that. It's strategic tariff for deterrence. Those tariffs those antibiotics could be made in Argentina. Labor costs are lower in Argentina. There's a free market government in Argentina that loves us. We want Milei to do well there. We should be helping Milei create jobs in Argentina. We don't need all of these generic drugs to be made in the United States. Some of them, yes, for national security concerns, but not all of them need to be. They could be made in Argentina. Why are they being made in China? Because we have provided no disincentive. That's why when I say I'm against tariffs, I'm not against strategic tariffs against our enemies like China. Look at India. We're imposing major tariffs on India because India is continuing to buy Russian oil. I think there's a problem there. But what are the Indians doing? They're now playing nice with the Chinese and the Russians. We encouraged Apple to move its product lines for the iPhone to India. Now we're imposing tariffs on India. What's Apple going to do? I think Apple should move maybe to Mexico, maybe to Argentina, move to the Western Hemisphere. Argentina labor costs are more than India, but they're still less than here. Jillian, all of this is say, if you're still listening, I haven't bored you to death, there are ways to do what the president wants done without tariffs, because tariffs ultimately amount to a tax on you and me. And if we aren't paying the tax and companies are eating the cost of it, they're slowing their hiring, they're slowing their wage increases, they're slowing their investments, they're slowing their dividends for 401ks, and there is a fallout effect from tariffs. And it has been well shown on the left and the right what the fallout of tariffs are. I don't need to continuously go into that, but there are problems with tariffs. Now, Jillian is calling from South Carolina. Think about BMW. BMW has a major facility in South Carolina. It's being impacted by tariffs. In fact, they're slowing hiring there. Boeing is in Charleston, South Carolina. Boeing's an American manufacturer making planes. But Boeing, the 787 that is made in Charleston, South Carolina, put together in South Carolina, has parts that come in from all over the world. Boeing is being negatively impacted by the tariffs because it has different parts made in different countries that then go to Charleston, South Carolina for fitting. And so the cost of the Boeing aircraft is starting to go up. There's a company, I forget now which one it is, Jillian, in Greenville, South Carolina. It's an American manufacturer. Who is it? I can't remember now, but they issued a statement last week saying that they're about to start raising prices because of tariffs. I don't want to be a broken record on it. I'm sure I've bored you all to death. I'm trying to answer Jillian's question, just show you. There are ways for our government to stimulate the economy domestically. We did make a mistake in encouraging the offshoring of everything. We are now a service economy. There are national security concerns for building weapons in the United States and things like that, where the government absolutely does have to say, you know what, national security trumps free market economics. I'm not a libertarian. I recognize national security concerns with tariffs and things like that. But I also think that the way that they're being deployed right now, whether it's the government taking 10% of Intel or tariffs, these are 1950s and 60s Democrat-style economic policies that even John F. Kennedy started rejecting when he was president, and that the Republicans realized by the time Reagan was president were bad. And when the Republicans pushed them off in the 1980s, our economy exploded and began to become the fastest and greatest economy on planet Earth, where it's been ever since. And if we forget these lessons, we're doomed to repeat these lessons. And I really don't want to repeat these lessons, but it looks like we're headed that way. Now, let me tell you about Swiss America. They've been warning people about a secret war on cash. You got all the Basel III regulations and everything else out there, and people are being encouraged to use credit cards and debit cards instead of using cash. Swiss America wants to give you their report on the secret war on cash and help you protect your hard-earned assets now. You can get a free copy by calling or texting 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. It's spreading. Get their report, The Secret War on Cash, completely free. All you have to do is mention me when you call or text 800-289-2646. Just text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, or just text Eric to 800-289-28. 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Hello, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I hope you're going to have a great weekend. This is probably the most important segment of the show. I've waited until the end, and this may be the most important part of the show. Braves players, I know you listen to my program. I need you to win tomorrow. I'm taking my son. He has never been to a Braves game before. He's never really wanted to go, and he's finally gotten into the Braves. He's going. I'm taking him to see them beat the Mets tomorrow night. Braves, I need you to win. My son is going. We're taking some longtime friends of ours who are obsessive Braves fans. And Braves, I need you to beat the Mets. And one, you need to beat the Mets because, between David and Fisher here on the payroll, I mean, they're Mets fans and they need to be humiliated. And so Braves, I need you to win tomorrow for that. But I need you to win because I'm taking my son to his first Braves game. So I need an exciting game and I need you to win, Braves. So please win for my son and for our friends who are going with us. It's just very important. I literally, my son and I, we've been talking about this, and I got some tickets for some friends of ours to go. He's like, well, I want to go. I've never been to a Braves game. I was like, I thought you'd been. No, we were supposed to go last year, and he got sick, and we wound up not being able to go. And I go with friends, and it's just he's never really been into wanting to sit in a ballpark and watch a baseball game, but he has suddenly gotten interested in the idea of doing it. And so I'm like, all right. We're going to go to a Braves game. Normally, I'm taking him to see Nate Bargatze. I'm taking him to see John Mulaney. He's big into comedians. We go to the movies a lot. I'm taking my daughter to a Cubs game coming up, but he wants to go see the Braves beat the Mets. And so I need you guys to I need y'all to step up and beat the Mets tomorrow. Save your energy tonight. Beat the Mets tomorrow while I'm there with my son. Tell you, it's really important stuff. I got to get him into it. I got it so he'll go with me to games. He's at that age where it's fun to hang out with him. He's 16, and we were going to go play golf this afternoon, but it's about to pour down rain here, so we're not. But we're going to go to the Mets. We're going to go to the Braves game to see him beat the Mets tomorrow. I need you guys to be there to step it up and beat the Mets tomorrow. Everybody else, have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday.